Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Math Puzzle Crash Course. I have another purchasing problem here. It's kind of similar to some other ones I've had where you bought a horse, bought a cow, bought an elephant. This one's just a variation on that. Same kind of problem. Um, and it's a little bit puzzling why these particular problems are so confusing and how some people are so adamant in their wrong answer, which is unfortunate. It's really a very simple problem, but a lot of people get really twisted over this. So I'd like to go through it and try to explain it as best I can. I know a lot of people are going to come into the YouTube video. They're not even going to watch the video and they'll comment and leave a wrong answer and maybe never watch the video. I typically try not to argue with these people because they didn't really bother to watch the video in the first place. I put these out there to try to explain how these problems are solved, but not everybody will watch them. That's kind of their choice. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to just say if you're not sure about this, that's not a problem, not a problem at all. You can actually pause the video right here, and we'll come back and work this out together, and hopefully it'll make more sense once we do that. All right, so there's a couple of ways to approach this problem. Actually, more than one, but you really are going to end up with the same answer. One easy way to look at this is to recognize, okay, it's the same pig, but there's two different sales. I bought and sold the pig once, and I bought and sold the pig again. And these are separate transactions, and they can be looked at as two separate transactions because that's exactly what they are. The very first time I had bought the pig for $500 and I sold the pig for 900. So you should be able to tell pretty easily from that I made $400 right away. Then again, I bought the pig again for $1,200 and then I sold that pig again for $1,800. Well, on that second sale, I made $600 because I ended up with 600 more than the 1,200 I spent. Pretty simple. If you add those two profits together, you're going to get 400 plus 600 is $1,000. So that means I earned $1,000 over the course of those two different sales. Now I know a lot of people out there are scratching their head and saying, "Well, how could you make money when you bought the pig again for more than you sold it for?" And that's where a lot of people are getting confused, and I think they're just lacking the ability to break this thing down into its simplest parts and recognize the fact that it's two different sales. Now there's another way to look at this problem. You can look at how much money did I spend, how much money did I bring in. Your expenses. Now we don't know anything about like feed, transportation costs, taxes. We're not dealing with any of that stuff. This is a simple math problem, and then we're just dealing with the numbers we're given. The expenses or the money that I spent was the 500 up here. I bought the pig for 500 and I bought the pig a second time for 1,200. Well, it's really simple to add 500 and 1,200, you get 1,700. Well, how much money did I make each time? What was the revenue? What was the money coming in? Well, I sold the pig for 900 this first time. I sold the pig a second time for 1,800. So that means I had $900 coming in and I had $1,800 coming in for a total of $2,700 in revenue. Well, if my expenses were $1,700, 2,700 minus 1,700 is $1,000. Once again, did this worked it out a little bit differently, but it's the same numbers, the same two sales. It's $1,000, $1,000 earned between those two sales. Now, another thing to think about, some people get really confused too about how much money he had to start with. Some people will actually answer this problem, and I'll probably see it in the comments somewhere if enough people answer it. But somebody will always say, well, he only had $500 to start with. Well, read the problem again, please, because the problem does not say that. The problem says I bought a pig for 500. I mean, that would be like saying I went to the grocery store and I spent $327.94. Does that mean I went to the grocery store with exactly $327.94? Of course not. I might have had $500. I might have had my checkbook. Maybe I had $10,000 in my checking at the time, and I took my checkbook. Maybe I had my debit card. Maybe I used my credit card that has a $20,000 balance on it. Who knows? The how the thing to keep in mind is it does not matter how much money I had to start with. As long as I had enough money to make those two purchases, right? I had to have money to buy the pig for 500. I had to have money again to buy the pig for 1200. So obviously I had the money to do it. You don't know how much money I had. I could have had, a bunch of money in the bank, bunch of money in my wallet. Maybe I had it sewed in the mattress in my room. Who knows? The thing to keep in mind is however much money I had to start with, which you don't know, well, you subtract 500, add 900, subtract 1200, add 1800 to it. What do you end up with? However much money I had to start with plus $1,000. Well, what does that mean? That means if I had $10,000 on me, I ended up with $1,100. I ended up with no 10. If I had $10,000 to start with, I ended up with $11,000 because I had 10,000 to start. Add 1,000, that's 11,000. If I had $1 million to start with, I had $1 million plus 1,000 because that's what I earned between the two sales. So again, a lot of people are getting confused. They're getting hung up on either not understanding how much money he started with, which is irrelevant. I know some people are going to say, well, it's not irrelevant. Well, look, I could work this problem out. I could have had $0, right? I could have had no money on me, and maybe my uncle Cletus came by and let me borrow $500 to buy the pig. I could have bought the pig, sold it for 400, I sold it for 900, I mean. So Uncle Cletus gave me 500. I sold the pig for 900. So I could pay Uncle Cletus back. I'd still have $400. And then maybe I wanted to buy the pig again for $1,200. Well, I needed to borrow money from Uncle Cletus. As long as you paid it back, or let's say I had a credit card. I could have used a credit card, and if I would have paid it all back, and not owed any interest. That's the important thing, not owed any interest. I would still end up with $1,000 to the good, and that's starting with no money. I could have started with a credit card and charged the purchases. And as long as I sold that pig for 900 and sold that pig again for 1800, um, I still would have had $1,000 in cash and a paid off credit card, provided that I didn't have any interest charges to deal with. So it's again, the amount of money he started with is irrelevant. Some other people will get hung up on this too, and they say, "Well, you bought it for 500 and then you sold it at the bottom for 1,800. I must have made $1,300." Well, that's wrong too because you're ignoring the other sale. I've seen people do that too, where they only look at the very beginning purchase and the very end sale, which makes absolutely no sense either. And I've heard people say, "Well, it's because it's the same pig." What does that have to do with anything? It doesn't matter if it's the same pig. It could be two different pigs. It could be a pig and a chicken. It could be a leopard and a zebra. The only thing that matters in the problem is that there were two different sales. You have to take into account both of those. He, I bought, I sold, I bought, I sold. That's what's important in the problem. So again, I don't want to beat this one to death too much, but the answer is 1,000. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what some of the comments are. I'm sure I'm going to have some. that are going to say that he lost money or some other different answers. But again, it's likely they didn't watch the video when they left those answers. But hopefully this has been helpful. And if it has been helpful, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. And I do look forward to seeing everybody in the next video.